good morning quirky birders, and welcome to episode 3. So I've got my painting here. Like I said to you yesterday, we've worked in with our lovely sea, where we've worked in using the glazing process, and then we've worked wet on wet to put the sky in on our little painting that we're currently working on. So today our focus is going to be this bottom third of the picture, and we're actually going to be working on the lovely sand dunes that our little dog is sat upon, and we're also going to be working on the foreground. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start with our sandy colour, our sand dunes. And if you're using a palette like mine, this colour here is your ideal go-to, this lovely sandy colour. So you can mix some of that directly into your palette, which is a very, very sort of pale sandy brown. And to give it a little bit of warmth, you can then add in a little bit of yellow. And you can see that you get this lovely sandy colour, like so. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm just going to put in the sand dunes. So I'm working wet on dry, so I'm just going to work that colour just around our little dog. Now where we've got our grasses drawn in, I'm not going to fill that space, because I'm going to use the paper through the yellow when we add in the green. So I'm not going to fill the area where the grasses are, because I want the grasses to be quite bold and not get sort of all muddy colour with the sand. So again, just over here, I'm just going between some of the grasses that I've drawn in. And keep the shoreline, well, the dunes sort of fairly loose with regards to an edge. You don't want a solid, blunt, straight line. So if it's a little bit wavy, that's good. Just allow that to dry. Added in a little bit of shadowing, a little bit of texture, so don't be sort of so solid with your paints. Try and be a little bit more looser, and you'll get a nice sort of shaded effect of the little dunes. So for our foreground, we're going to be using a grey. And again, if you're using the palette like mine, your Battleship Grey is ideal for this. So again, just using your palette, I'm just going to mix a little bit of the grey into my palette. And this time I want it to be that little bit warmer. So to that, I'm going to add in a little bit of the orangey, and that just gives it a little bit of warmth by adding in the lighter sort of peachy colour. Can you see? Now this time I'm going to pay particular attention to the shoreline, and I'm just going to put in a line across the edge by the sea. And again, when it comes to the grasses that we've drawn in, I'm just going to put a couple of little dots through and not take it all the way across. And all you're doing for the shoreline is you want to have a little bit of shadowing. So similar to when we finished off a picture and we've sort of put a little bit of shading, we did it on the houses. So just keeping some of the white of the paper showing through. Don't worry about filling in the whole of the area. Just keep it nice and delicate. And a little bit more refined. I've just got a blob of grey there, so with a dry brush, look, that's just gone. So I just want to keep it really nice and pale. So just using the pale grey, just building up that shadow along that shoreline, allowing the paint to move, and then just add some of the shading and shadow. If you want to, you could get a separate piece of paper and just practice this before you apply it to your painting. You just need to keep it nice and light. And know when to stop. So I'm going to leave that just like that at the moment, and then I'm going to come back and just add in a second layer of the sandy colour on the sand dunes. So again, paying particular attention to that edge, so it's a little bit darker. So I'm challenging you a little bit with this painting because obviously the techniques are a little bit more looser and you're painting a little bit more in an open style, but it's still very, very simple. Put a little bit of darker sand on around his paw, his little foot. And just here at the base of the grasses too. So you can see just very, very delicately, you're just going to be moving that paint around and just adding in those shadows and shading. And it's just these simple techniques that that create a really quite accomplished watercolour painting. So I'll just finish off. I've got a little blob of the yellow there, but we can get rid of that. Apply a bit of water and we'll just reduce that. There we go. Okay, so that's all I need you to do for day 3. Is you just need to be working on a bit more of a delicate touch. So with your pale grey, you're going to be putting in the shoreline. So we've mixed the pale grey and we've added in a little bit of yellow just to give it that little bit of warmth. So you just need to concentrate on your edge and just add in that little bit of shading. And the same applies for the yellow of your dunes. you're just working with the lovely sandy yellow, allowing some of the paper to come through, not painting the solid colour, and then, like with the glazing effect that we did with the sea, you're just then putting in some extra little bits of texture and shading, particularly around the base of the dog and around the edge of the sand dunes. So as you can see, your painting is coming together really quite nicely. I'll be back again tomorrow for episode 4 of the series, and during this episode we're going to be working on the texture within our grasses, and we're also going to be painting in our lovely little dog. I'll see you all tomorrow. Don't forget, I am around for questions, so if you have any queries, please do get in touch, and I shall see you all again soon. Goodbye.